a better way to do this on my phone, but I can't press the button that says go live while my phone is in the holder. So I didn't have my mic on either. Hopefully the mic helps. Okay, we're ready. Here we are. This is how far we got last time. Oh, I gotta mute that. I always think I know what I'm doing, but I don't. I think I know what I'm doing half the time, but the lives always seem to catch me off guard. I prepare for them. I really do. I know it seems like I just throw them on last minute, and that's also true, but I do also sort of prepare. So now today the camera is way too close. Well, what happened? I don't know. I guess I'll have to make myself a list and say when you're doing a live, your phone has to be this many inches from your project. So last week, I believe it was May 28th, we made this pouch we started, and we didn't quite finish. I was live for like 2 hours and we still didn't quite finish. Today, I want to first off start by showing you a different way to join. So if you had watched last week, you will have heard me say I've never actually done this in the round. And so when it came to joining, I just used some skills that I have from other projects and said, this is how I would do it. But since doing that, I thought, okay, maybe I should try a few more other options. And here's the option I like. That still seems really close to my hands. I'm going to back it up just a little. I want you guys to be able to see it, but I also need to be able to see through the camera. I mean, I need to see past the camera. I need to see what I'm doing. So, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm not very big on introductions. You can introduce yourself. I'm pretty sure the comments will keep going when this is rewatchable. And sometimes I don't read them all. Sometimes I try. Sometimes I get distracted. But here is my newest trick. The trick you can see here, this double crochet, this should be right up against this one. This is the same thing, only it's not where it's joined, and you can see how they're right next to each other. And that's what I want to eliminate. The join method that I was using, I basically said, well, this is how I join it when I'm doing center out, so let's give it a try. And it works, it's just not perfect. And I like things to be a little closer to perfect. So this would be, I don't know, we weren't counting rows here. We were looking at the written and the chart. The written pattern has dots all over because it is, well, the chart and the written have dots all over it because it was originally designed for interlocking crochet, and then I added X's for mosaic. While doing the live, I have been editing those out while I'm going. If you buy the chart, you'll be able to see where I've edited things. If you're following the written, it's a little more tricky. And the written is free on my blog. The chart is only by purchase. However, if you follow this live video and the previous part 1, you don't really need to buy anything, right? So we're all good. We are looking at the chart, row 40. So obviously we didn't do 40 rows here. And this row here, I'm using this grayish, whitish, whatever it is, as my main color. And I was doing a really complicated join where I picked up things and tucked them in and whatever. And you know what's easier? Just grabbing the other color. Only because we're doing single crochets in the back loop, we don't have to do a join and then go in the single crochet. That's what's creating this extra space, is because we're using this stitch twice. Let's just go in the back loop and pick up the color that we're using. We'll have to hold this one because it's not locked in. My other method locked it in. And let's just try this. I think it's going to look a lot better. I tried it on a few other samples. I'm not going to take my old one apart because I'm too lazy. In order to do our first single crochet though, we will need to chain 1 and use the same spot for the single crochet. However, it shouldn't have as much of a gap. Cross my fingers. And the timing of my last live video was much different. It was like 12 p.m. my time, and today it is 6 p.m. my time, so I know that's going to catch a whole different audience. Not on purpose, it's just how it goes sometimes. We are still going to, I'm going to say the count, and then I'm going to do the count. And if I was smart, I'd write it down. Look at me, I'm going to get a paper. I don't know if you can see that. I'm over here. I'm going to say we're looking at the chart row 40, and I'm skipping the edge stitches. So I'm going to start with, let me make sure that's the one I'm looking at. This one would have been the top, oh, down there. Okay, I see it. This one would be row 37. I think this might be actually row 39 that we're supposed to be working at. Let's see. Because that one looks like it's using my main color. Oh, it's because I just finished. I'm using my accent color. See, you know, I looked at the other video and I thought I had it on row 40, but now when I'm looking at it, the count looks weird. Row 40, row 39. It is row 40. Yep. Okay, so, you know, sometimes I think I know what I'm doing. No, it is 39. See, now, maybe I should just not go live anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. You guys are going to say, she's a fraud. What I see here is, this is the back of the arrow. One arrow goes this way with lines on the bottom. The next arrow goes the other way. And then these lines show up on the top. That's what we're creating. This red was row 37. So this is now row 39. And there's all single crochets. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 single crochets that go here. Then we have 1 double. See, but it's not showing me a double on there. I'm really not sure why. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wish I could show you my chart again. You guys could tell me what the right answer is. The problem is the live thing flusters me. And then I go, I'm a fraud, I shouldn't be doing this. Oh, and my camera is showing, see, and on the video it shows more. Let me see if I can do this. Not far enough. Okay, well, we could cancel this live if you guys think I'm a fraud. But what I'm going to do is, instead of staring at the chart trying to count it, I'm going to just count it on here because it'll be easier for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, that's what I wrote down. I'm not sure why it doesn't seem to be making sense to me. 1 double crochet. If you've done any mosaic, you know the single crochets are in the back loop, the double crochet drops down. 1 more single crochet and another double crochet. That's what it should be showing. 1 single, 1 double, and that looks like 40, which is what I thought it was at first. So how come I'm telling myself I'm wrong? That's the real question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So according to my count here, I should have 7 more to finish off the repeat. If you have seen this before, I have 3 arrows. So I'm doing the repeat 3 times because I didn't think 2 is big enough. I still want to create a usable pouch. So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now you can't really tell because of the spaces, but I think inside I have my stitch marker. Is that the one I removed? I have stitch markers for the other repeats. If you look, oh, sorry, I had a little hair on me. Sorry about that. If you look here, this red line and this red line, they are the same in the repeat. So we are done the repeat. That count was correct. So I was right at the beginning when I said we're doing row 40, and then I all combobulated. I was right. We are. It's row 40 on the chart, which doesn't correspond to the written because nowadays I've been updating my charts to start at row 0. The written starts with row 0, a foundation row. Some of my older charts start at row 1, so then everything gets off by a step. And it is confusing. I know it's confusing for me and it's confusing for other people. And some people go, it's okay, I only use one or the other, so they don't mind. And other people go, oh, I was trying to use both and I'm very confused. So I attempt to do these live videos so that people can practice with me, but then I just show how confusing it can be. And then I'm not sure anybody's going to want to practice with me again. We're starting the next repeat. I'll count them again. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 7 and 8. Really, it's 15. But because our repeat cuts it in the middle, that's why we're counting them like that. Then we have double, single, double. That's getting us the point of the arrow, which matches the bottom of the arrow, right? This is mirrored up and down. And if you did the summer direction cal, you know I have a section called dark arrows. That's this, where the arrow is filled in, only it still has dots all over it. And then I have light arrows because I made the inner white on the chart. It would be red on this. So if you want to, we can go over the difference later. You'd have to let me know if that's something you're interested in. And I can count all my stitches out loud if you like. If you're writing it down, I'm going to write it down. I'm going to create a blog post and I'll say, here are the 2 videos and here is the written version of what I did. But there won't be a chart to go with it because I've adjusted the chart. So it'll just make it easier. You can write it down if you like, but I will write it down as well. I haven't done it yet, but I will. I will. We just finished supper, and the library in our town is basically like the size of our bedroom. But it's open once a week, and today is the day. So the kids are going with Dad. They go for a little walk. They're little, so it takes them a long time to walk there. They get so excited to pick a book or 2 or 5 or 10 or whatever they pick. And then they might walk home or they might go to the park. It's extremely windy, so I'm not sure. Oh, I should just write that down while I remember. It was 8 and then 7. So here's where it comes in handy to know the count, because we don't want to add stitches because then you get this funny gap, which I'm not a huge fan of. So we're going to do 7 single crochets for the end of this round. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then our next one, before I was joining, I was going under 2 loops, but this new join, I'm just going to take the back loop and I'm going to just grab my next one. I'm not going to do any locking. Hello, you made it. I thought you'd be sleeping. So that's what I've done. I just pull it up and then I chain and use the same spot for a single crochet in the back loop. We'll have to do a few rounds to be making sure that it actually looks better, but Zara says hello. I've been checking your channel for the past 2 days for this video. I'm so sorry. I don't plan these things out because I just never know how noisy my house is going to be. And even today, I really was pushing it. I was like, okay, Dad, you're going to the library, right? You're going to the library. You're going now. You're going now. Get out. Go now. And so he finally did. But I felt a little bit flustered when we get started. So I am going to do the count for my chart here. Row 41 on the chart now should say 1, 2, 4, 6, 8. Double crochet. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 singles. Then 2, 4, 6 double crochet. Yeah, that's how it goes in my house. So I wish I was more retired. I wish I was better able to schedule these things. We're hoping to get into a groove one of these days where I can actually schedule some lives and do it like the same day of the week or the same time of the day or something. But for now, that's what we got. So this is, I'm not sure what row it is here, but on the chart, it's row 41. And the count is going to be, oh, my joining is wrong because I wasn't paying attention. Let's try that again. The count is going to be 8 double crochets, filling up this arrow spot, 5 single crochets, and then 6 double crochets. Not 18, just 8. So I did my join, my new method of joining. Did you see my new method of joining, Zara? So last time we had been locking the tails in very tightly because that's how I was doing it when I do a center out piece. And I practiced a little bit, and I think I like this better, where you just pick up the next yarn. You don't need to do any locking, you just pick it up and make a slip stitch that way. It does mean that this is loose until you pick it up the next row. And we're going to do 8 double crochets here. So this is technically the stitch we'd be using, but we're going to drop down. I think that the join will work better because I'm not really a fan of the gap. It does not make a gap when I'm doing it center out piece. You can't tell which corner has the joins. But on this, it is definitely making a gap, you know? It must be like 6 in the morning for you, right? It's 6 p.m. here, and I think last time we were 12 hours, but I might be wrong. Anyway, it is nice to have a familiar face. Words, anyways. Oh, really? So it's not just 12 hours, it's 11 and a half hours difference. Zara, you didn't sleep? Oh, tisky tisky. I've had those days. Well, hopefully this crochet will be so rhythmic and soothing and you will go have a nice little rest after. I did my 8 double crochets. Now I need 5 singles. Did you get caught up? Are you crocheting with me again, or are you just writing down the rows to finish it up later? The double crochet is creating a point. You can see on our arrow here, these 2 stitches make a point. That's what we're creating up here. They're the same arrows, just one faces one way. Yes, you better get your yarn. Here we are. And if we wanted to count them together, this would be 14. Because we have the interrupting of the repeats, it's really 8 and 6. Just FYI. And did I say the right number? I think I did. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oops, 6. That would be the end of the repeat, but I'm doing it 3 times, so here we go again. Do 8 more double crochets. The nice thing about working in the tube is that we don't have those end stitches, we don't have tails, we don't have to make an envelope border, and that part I definitely like. The weird part is that if you weren't doing a design like this where it has repeats, I think you'd get a join, your image would have to join at some point still anyways, right? So not every pattern will really work for this. Did my yarn do funny? There we go. Then we have 5 single crochets again. And then 6 doubles. I've been trying to add subtitles to all of my videos on YouTube, 130 different languages. And it's not hard, it just takes a little bit of time. And if the computer is lagging or the internet, I'm not really sure which one is the problem. Sometimes it takes longer than other times. And when I was going through it, I was trying to see if I can add the subtitles to my live videos as well. And I was happy to see that I can, but I can't do it while it's being live. So that has to wait for it to process or render or whatever it does. And then I can go back and add the subtitles. So live video, not great for the audience that requires subtitles in a different language. So that's just something to be aware of. If you're watching this 10 years from now and you're like, oh, I'll go check out her other videos. If you need those subtitles in a different language and you don't speak English, you'll probably need to wait and not bother with a live video. 3, 4, 5. I wish I could edit this live video because I would cut out the beginning where I flustered myself out and said, I'm on row 40, no, I'm on 39, no, I'm on 40, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was right, I should have trusted myself because I did that off camera. I double checked. I wanted to everything ready. Oops, I don't know what I'm doing there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did I count wrong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4. We should have 6 double crochets here. Not entirely sure where the next one is supposed to go because perhaps I made a mistake last time. I want to join the gap here, but it's actually lost a stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if we count here, it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. What? 5? Did I not do it right over here? I bet I didn't even count, did I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when I was looking at my chart, 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's because I repeated. The chart is not my favorite chart. It's older, but only about a year. Yeah, so 8 and 5 and 6 is too many. The count really should say 8 double crochets, 5 single crochets, and then only 5 more double crochets, which is what I've been crocheting. I just didn't count out loud, so I didn't notice until I got to the end here and decided to count. And nothing's wrong with my crocheting. The only thing is wrong with my counting out loud. You should have been more specific because I don't know what I'm doing, obviously. Silly me. Do you still trust me after all this? Goodness. And I'm going to do my new join of just picking up the loop. And we'll hopefully, if we pull that together, hopefully it's going to keep things closer. Doesn't really look like it is, but I don't know. Well, yeah, that's how it should work. The stuff that I was practicing on, I didn't do too many rows, but it looked like it was working, so I'm going to just try it. Remember, I'm going to trust myself. Seems to be a thing that I don't like to do. You did ask me to count again, and I didn't even catch it when I said it out loud, but now I'm going to pay more attention. We're going to be doing row 42. I have a paper here today. I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to count it this time better. So row 42 on my little chart is single crochets, a whole bunch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 singles, 1 double, 3 singles, 1 double, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 singles. And that should be the right count. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So that's good. Ooh la la. Man. So here we go again. It's really not a hard process, but the fact that I'm on live, it makes me feel embarrassed when I count them wrong. To do our single, we chain 1 and do the single in the same spot. So it is still giving a little bit of bulk, but it's supposed to be less than this other. If it doesn't work, maybe I'll just play around with that some more. Technically, this is not a published pattern. This is just me crocheting, and you happen to be watching me and crocheting along. So, I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if we are looking at this arrow, you see it goes down. That's what we're creating. Right up here. But this one points out one farther. So I guess I could have started the chart 1 row lower. I would have had the point match it. Right here, this is what we're creating. Anywho, not that that matters. Just crochet, right? 3 singles. 1, 2, 3. Because we want to put another double on this side. And then we can count them, or we don't have to count them. We're just going to make a big long 5 and then 8. It's really 13, but we have the repeat in the middle. So single crochet all the way across. I mostly use my visual cues for a pattern like this. Other patterns that are more complicated, I would definitely use the count. But for this one, I find the visual cue easier to follow, which sometimes does mess me up. So maybe that's not the best choice. I'm not sure. We're already here. Double, 3 singles. Zara shared on Instagram her pretty pink, you forgot your hook size. I believe you were using a 3.5 because I'm using a 4.5. I think that's what you told us, but you could go check. It's definitely in the comments on that other video. Anyway, on Instagram, she was showing her pink and purple sample. And mine, I think it's ugly. These colors were in my scrap bin. And red works as a contrasting color with the black and the red and the gray. But these are not my colors. These are, I don't know, they're just bleh. I'm definitely the pink girl, which, I mean, I'm wearing pink today. It's kind of a mauve color. But the colors don't really matter, except for if I was watching something, I might be more tempted to click on a video if the color of the yarn enticed me, which is why I try to do lots of different colors in my projects. And I've seen other designers, namely like the Projectarian, for example, they do amigurumi. And when I'm scrolling through Instagram, I recognize their posts instantly because they all have the same style of yarn. It's like a speckled, I don't know what that word is called, speckled yarn. And they use it for all their projects, and the way their lighting is and their animals, I'm scrolling through and I know instantly that's a Projectarian. And I would like to be cool enough that as a designer, people recognize me instantly. But when I look at my stuff, I just want to use up my scrap yarn. And I want people to say, oh, well, I like red. Well, no, I hate pink. And I don't want them to pick my stuff based on the color of yarn, because it's really about what I've drawn. And you can use any color. And you can use any weight, which is why Zara's gone to check on which hook she's using, because she's using a different weight yarn. And I did want to point out here, this little stitch here, that was our joining stitch. You don't go into here. Hopefully we're pulling things tight enough so that that part you won't see. But we're going to go into the next one. We're going to grab the gray, we're going to slip stitch and just pull the red one quite tight, because that's what we don't want to see here. And we need to read the next row. Okay, on my chart I'm looking at row 43. If you're looking at the written, it's sort of referencing row 42. However, I've been editing out the those mesh dots, so it doesn't actually match the written at all, which is why I have to do it live as we go. And it looks like we're all single crochets here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 single crochets. Then we have 1, 2, 3 double crochets. And don't count the row. If you're looking at the chart, I have 4 rows on one side and 3 rows on the other side that I'm not including here because they are like straight border lines. And in the written, I have took the 4 stitches at the beginning and then put the asterisks, and then only 3 at the end. And when I was reading my chart, I did it the other way. So that's just another thing to be confused about, which I didn't do on purpose. But next time I do a live, always bigger and better, because I learn every time I do something, right? Now this, because we slip stitched into there, we're going to single crochet into there as well. And we have, what did I say? 15. 1, 2, 3. Zara's going to have to ask when she comes back. She's going to say, what was the row count? Because she's been writing it down. She's doing 4 repeats and I am just doing 3. And Joanne says, hello at Ashley Bratzel Designs in ads. I'm not sure what that means, the in ads part. I do have ads on my videos nowadays, which was really weird. I had the live on my computer while I'm using my phone, and then a video, it put an ad, and I was like, what? How can you put an ad on something live? You're interrupting. But it did, so that's kind of weird to me. Yeah, I definitely wasn't counting anymore, so let me just try again. If you wanted to tell me, Miss Joanne, well, I guess I shouldn't assume, but I think Joanne sounds like a female name to me. So, what does that mean in ads? Are you trying to tell me something? Ask me something? I'm going to count my stitches here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So you can see here, this is the end of this, and this is the beginning of this one. And in here, we're going to have these lines, just like we had down here. This is kind of creating the same thing. So what we're looking for is actually to match, this would be the middle line. The arrow, you could fold it in and he would match. So now we're going to create these 3 double crochets, but at the top. And we drop them down to pick up the loop below. Zara's back. Welcome back. You missed our line count. Do you want me to repeat it for you so you can write it down? It was a 3.5 millimeter. Wow, I have a good memory today. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And then I had, oh, that's the end of the repeat. So we are just at the beginning of the next repeat. So it's perfect timing. I'm going to say it out loud for Zara, but for anybody. We're going to do 15 single crochets. We're going to go all the way across here, and then we're going to line them up with these 3 double crochets. That's where we're going to put 3 double crochets. And that's the repeat, is 15 singles and 3 doubles. So I just finished the 3 doubles. Now I have to go back to singles. Make sure that you're skipping 3 stitches at the back. You don't want to add or take away from your count. If you were locking your stitches in, then those would have got used, but right now they just pretend used because they don't actually get used, but they count as the stitch below. Well, we are looking at row 43 on the chart. Doesn't really match up with anything else, but it is row 43, and I have adjusted the X's because I took out those mesh dots. There would have been a mesh dot here, which means it would have been double, single, double. So you'll see X and no X in the middle. But I'm adjusting it as we go. So I'm on live, I'm counting it as we go, and I'm adjusting it as we go. Mistakes get made. That's why I'm so flustered. I guess I should have counted it beforehand, but I just like to jump right into things. Oh yes, you can ask me a question. I am nearly done this one. You want my full attention, so you need me to stop counting because otherwise I'll lose my place, right? And we were baking banana bread earlier, so my house is hot today. Woo! I'm feeling warm. So here we are. 1, 2, 3 red is what we skip, so that's all I really need to count is when I get to this post, I count 1, 2, 3, and then I know that I'm actually going to do some doubles. 3 doubles. One more repeat because I'm doing 3. I could have done just 2. Well, I could have done just 1, but that wouldn't have made a very good circle. 3. Would have made my video shorter though. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we've got 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3. I'm ready for your big question. I'm nervous. What's it going to be? What's she going to say? I'll count my next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. One, two, three. Okay. Yes. There's big question is, what is the row you started with today? Today, reading the chart, I started with row 40. I confused myself and I went back and forth and I thought, oh no, I'm doing the wrong one. But it was row 40. However, looking at this is not row 40 on here. So right now, we just finished 43. Is that right? This would have been 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17. So this is 19. We just finished row 19 in our crocheting, but it is actually 43 on my chart because I skipped the bottom of the chart. And yeah, I looked at the end of my previous video to find out where I was going to start, and then I wrote it down and I came to do the live, but when I started counting them, it felt wrong, so I kind of second guessed myself and freaked myself out. Joanne, hi everyone entering. Welcome, welcome. Are you crocheting along with us or just checking it out for next time? This is, just FYI, hard to see, but this is the stitch that we're going to enter back loop. Is that the right one? Looks like the right one. Let me double check. It's not. This is the joining stitch. That makes more sense. So skip the joining stitch, enter the back loop on the next one. Pick up a loop. It's like a slip stitch, but you have to really tighten this one because otherwise it gets confusing as to which one you're using. We're going to start with 1 double crochet. So we've done the slip stitch in there, but now the double crochet just gets dropped right down. Turn your hook the right way, Ashley. And we're going to use this loop here. And it does seem to be getting closer than the other way of joining, but I do still see a gap, so I don't know. Maybe we have to keep going. Maybe it's just not far enough, you know what I'm saying? For this round, this is 44 on the chart. I'm going to do 1 double crochet, 13 singles, 1 double, and then 3 singles. And I will try to count them because they should fit here. It should be right here if we are reading it correctly. This is the stitch we're skipping, so the next one goes here. It's 13. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So I might have counted wrong because I can't put a double crochet there. Let me look at my chart again. Row 44. Oh, I could have counted here. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It says right. Maybe I counted wrong on here. Let's see what I've done because now it doesn't work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It should be 13. So possibly I counted wrong when I was crocheting. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Must have skipped too many here. What's going on? It's not lining up. This is right here. 1, 2. Somebody know what I've done wrong because it should be right. It must be my join because that join is confusing. Let's just take it back and look. What have I done with the join? I think I have to go in the other one. Let's see. Don't lose you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. This must be the first stitch. That's the one I thought at first, and then I thought, no, it's a joining stitch. Must be because I pulled it too tight. That's what happens when you're new. The old join was good, yeah, but it has this gap. So maybe it's easier. I thought this was going to be easier, but now I'm getting lost with it. So I think I've just pulled it really tight this time, and that's why the joining part you can't see. So this was my first stitch, and that's where I'm going to try. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, finish. I pulled too many things out. There we go. Okay, the double crochet is finished over here. Then I go in and I pick up the red. And this one, when I tighten it, kind of does disappear. It's supposed to disappear because this is what I don't really like seeing the red interrupt my arrow. And then I'm using red now, and I'm going to try one double crochet. And it should be this one. Maybe I should just go back to my old join. Wow, you know, I practiced it, but only short practice, so maybe it's just too hard for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, it should be this one, so I don't understand why it looks like that one. And this is why beginners at crochet say, too hard, I give up. But I would say that this center, what do you call this, in the round? Mosaic crochet isn't too hard. Mosaic crochet in the round, because of the joining, I think it is harder. Maybe my brain's just deader. Is that a word? 1, 2, 3. I could use stitch markers. That would help. Then I would be like, well, it's easy because this is my double crochet. It's easy to know this time, but this is my double crochet. Next time I want to join, that's where I'm going to do it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. That looks much better because now we have room for the double crochet, just like we're supposed to. Fun fact, on the last live, where I was live for like 2 hours, YouTube estimates that I made $2 on ad revenue. I'm like, what? You must give me stitch count for row 40, please. Oh yes, because you missed it. I did say, you might have missed as well, I am going to put all of the rows and stitch counts on my blog after. Obviously I can't do it right now because I'm live on a video. But row 40 was 8 single crochets, 1 double, 1 single, 1 double, and then 7 singles. On this round, which is row 44, we did 1 double, 13 singles, 1 double, and 3 singles. So this is actually starting the repeat again. 1 double. Now we're going to do 13 singles. Did you get row 41? Were you here for that part? I might even remake this afterwards in prettier colors because bleh. But I have so many other projects on the go and everything always feels so important. You have everything after that? Well, good. Then you are probably going to crochet up a storm and your little project is going to be pink and I'm going to say, it's so much better than mine. But I have been working today on my double wedding rings, Mosaic Crochet from the center out. I crocheted that a little bit. And I also started the foundation rows for another cat square because I am done July. Here's my July cat. You can't really see him, but it's pink. So he's ready, but then I thought I better get started on August because you never know what's going to interrupt me. Right? Did see Dad just texted me, my husband, kid's dad. We just call him Dad. You know what I'm saying? He is done at the library, so I don't know if that means he's coming home. Remy has a play date. Oh, well, that's exciting. Why are you texting me? He knows I'm in live video. So, I don't know if he means Remy has a play date right now or he booked one for later because I didn't read the clasp. My phone is like hanging here and the clasp goes over it like this. which is why when I go to press live, I can't push the button. I have to take my phone out of the thing, push the button, and then get it in. So I can't actually see all the messages. And I might get a different stand because this one's pretty wibbly wobbly, but that just feels like money that I don't really need to spend. And then I'm like, well, if it helps my business, it counts as a business expense, right? One of those things that maybe I need to put more effort into, business expenses. So this one is where we're going to join. And I'm going to pick up the gray. Don't spend now. It's hard. I feel like if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? But it sort of is broken. It's annoying to push buttons, and I always have to weight the end of it so it doesn't fall over. Well, I think it is getting closer. The stitch join, it is pulling things closer. So I think I'm going to keep it. Now I have to write down row 45, which obviously not 45 on here, 45 on my chart. We're going to go to the beginning. It says, single, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 singles. And then, of course, 1 double, because that's all we have room for. So we're using gray. And the first single has to go where we joined it. So we have to do, we have to do a chain 1 and then the single crochet. So when we go next time, we're not going to use that chain 1 space. We want to use this stitch here. I'm going to put that there so that I don't get lost. And I'm just going to crochet 17 single crochets. That's not too hard. So that counts as number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So if you're looking for a visual cue, we're making this stitch right here, only now we're making it at the top. So we do our drop, double crochet. That's the end of the round. I'm going to do it 2 more times because my little bag goes round and round. 4, 5. Is this the first time that you're doing mosaic crochet in the round like this, like a tube? Or have you practiced with some other designers? Because I know there are other designers out there, obviously, and there are other designers who do mosaic crochet, and there are other designers who have probably done more experience with these in the round tube kind of pursy things. And I forget who asked me in my Facebook group or who suggested that I could do it for my live. And I'm not sure, maybe they didn't like the other designer, or they didn't see the other designers, or they just wanted to see how I would do it. I don't know. Wonder why they asked is really what I'm saying. First time for Zara, first time for me too. It's kind of weird trying to teach someone when it's your first time. It feels a little awkward at times, but I have a lot of other random knowledge, and that's kind of how I make things up. And if I was publishing this pattern, it would take a long time because you'd have to use words to concisely explain how to do the join and that sort of thing. And that's what takes a long time when you're writing up a pattern. It's like I could babble for 10 minutes and explain it to you on a video while I point. But if I have to write it for a pattern, it becomes a different story, which is why not everyone can do patterns. They just give up. I'm just going to take some water. How's my microphone? It's still working, isn't it? The cord fell. I think it's still plugged in. So our stitch join, it's handy to have this because now we know we're not going in that one and we're going to go in here instead. Good, thank you. That is the stitch. Where's my red one? Slip stitch. Come on, you. Pull it tight, 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 real tight. And what row are we on now? Get my little pen. See, I'm so organized. I have a pen today. Row 46 on the chart. Now, how far are we going on this chart? Let's see. We went down here for that one, so we do need to go a little farther here. Row 46 is going to start with 1 double crochet. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 single. See if I can write that better. And 1 double single. And then that should be it. 1 single. 1, 2, 3, 18. Yes, there we go. So 1 double, 15 singles, then a double single. Which means this one's going to drop down. So we're going to pick up that loop from the previous double crochet. Da, 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 da. Hopefully everything, I think it is working better. It probably would not have taken so long to hide it if we didn't have this gap down here, but it does make the joining harder to find the stitch. 15 singles I should probably count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. That looks right, because then we have room for our double crochet. And Joanne says, I'm here lurking and crocheting a mosaic blanket. Now, is it one of my patterns, or are you cheating on me? Oh, the horror. Teasing, by the way. Is it hard to crochet when I'm counting my stitches out loud, or are you able to multitask? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then 1 double and 1 single. Zara has to count out loud in order to work on her project. It would help if I didn't count out loud for you guys, but then I'd forget what I was doing. 1 double, that's how we are going to finish this one off, and 15 singles. The visual cue is enough, I think, once I'm sure that that's my count. Normally, I don't count the little squares on the charts. I have a computer program that does that for me, and that's why I can publish patterns and be confident in the counts, and not do live videos where my counts are all over the place, because I make a lot of mistakes. I am human and not a machine. Machine is much better at counting. So if you wanted to do this, oh, I missed the last, oh, poo-poo. Did you see that? I didn't put my last double crochet on row 45, because that should be here, and this one goes here. Well, do I want to take the whole row out? I think I'm just going to try adding it here, like this. We'll say, we're just going to pull it through and pretend that it was there the whole time. It's not going to be exact, but I don't like pulling my stuff apart all the time. Okay, I put a double crochet there. Down here you can see this is the same one, and then there's 1 gap and the double, so that's this one, 1 gap and the double. So I could count my stitches, but I'm pretty sure I should probably count them. What did I say it was? 15. All right, let's just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so trust yourself, Ashley, right? Double. Oops, I'm almost off the camera there. And then the single crochet is supposed to be at the top of this stitch that I just made up. It only works as a hack because we were at the end of the row where that loop already was. And I kind of pulled on the stitches weird because I do have a funny little loop on the front, but it's not going to bother me enough. Maybe I'll just try and include it in this one. If it's tight, probably no one will notice it. So I got to keep it at the back, and I'm going to join at the top of this post. Put my yarn in there. And to join, I'm going to pick up the loop first because it's not supposed to be there. And then I'm going to pull it through like a slip stitch. Pull my red one tight. And we're going to pretend like that belongs there. It's a little funky, only because we're looking at it so close. That's how I do things. I did that earlier on that project that I'm working on the couch, my wedding rings. Sometimes I'm not going to pull apart an hour and a half of crocheting for one stitch because it's a little bumpy here. It saves me an hour and a half, right? I do have a different video where it wasn't the middle. I had already finished and then I noticed it like in the bottom where I take a piece of yarn, it's been cut, and I put it in there. So if you want to know another hack for doing stuff, you can go check that video out later, but that's often how I do things. I just pull up a loop and pretend that it belongs there. Now row 47, this might be our last one. I think it's all single crochets. All singles, yes. And that matches our bottom row. You can see here, this is the arrow. The red line outlines it. And then there's a row of gray. And that's what we're doing at the top now, is just matching it. If you want a bigger project, you could repeat it, starting again, or you can add a different design onto it. I'm going to finish it with the gray. This is single crochet, so I have to use that loop that we joined into again, because we don't want to lose stitches right on top of that post. And then you could count them if you want, but it's all 18 because we have 18. And we're going to go all the way around. And then we're going to figure out a way to turn this little tube into a purse. Now basically my plan is to sew the bottom together using this blacky white yarn. And I think it'll be better if I take the box out of the way. I'm not sure. Might not be able to see what I'm doing. Zara says, I'm knitting a sweater. You knit too? Oh boy. I'm knitting a sweater with cables. Not right now. It's a work in progress. Yeah, I have a lot of work in progresses. I ripped 20 rows in one panel, then 10 plus in another because I messed in the ribbing in the cable part. 154 stitches in each panel. Ouch. That hurts just hearing about it, you know? When there are fixes that can save us that much ripping, I prefer them. Maybe if I was entering a project into a contest and I wanted to win a ribbon, I might say, well, it's worth the extra 2 hours for me to crochet it again. But most of my projects are going to sit on the couch or a closet, and no one is ever going to look close enough to notice that there's like a funny thing. So I often don't fix things like that. If there are some pretty big mistakes, and I will fix them afterwards by sewing pieces onto it. Yeah, cables with knitting, I don't think there's a way to fix that without taking it apart, hey? I have been on a sweater kick lately. I made my first sweater 2 years ago, and I didn't understand how gauge worked. So I made sure that I got the matching number of stitches and rows in the gauge swatch so that it matched her count on the pattern. But my hook size had to be changed to make it match because my yarn was much thicker. And because my yarn was so much thicker, it actually created a very stiff fabric. in order for me to match gauge then. So I don't really like wearing it. Now here's that funny stitch because we added it in and it kind of is sideways. He does fit in that space. And this is the joining stitch. I'm going to go under both loops this time because we're finished. And we can cut off both. Scary. So I'm going to have to get my little needle and I'll make sure this is in. Oh, my needle is, do you want to come on a walk with me? Oh no, here it is. Whew. I was going to have to show you my whole house. Here we go. I found it. It's right here. No worries. I love this needle because it has a pretty big eye, but it's not big to get through the yarn. It's big enough for me to get the yarn in, but not so big that it wrecks the fabric. So now inside here, we don't need these. I have another one somewhere. I thought I had a blue one. Okay, I guess that's it. What we need to do is, there's no knot, right? It's just sort of chilling. Make sure your tail is long enough so that you can weave it in and do good things. You want to make sure you're going through the fabric of the yarn and not just like through the stitches, which is why crocheting over your tails doesn't usually work enough, in my opinion. And if you go the same direction a few times, you can pick up different pieces of the yarn. You don't want it to be puckered, but you also don't want it to be so tight that it changes the stretch of your fabric. And that's just what I do here. Sometimes if my tail is really long, I'll say, okay, I have enough. I'll go back the other direction too. And I just try to weave it in. And then I'll cut it again. Where's my fancy little scissor? Make sure, I usually tug on it first to kind of make sure that everything is not too tight. Those are not the scissors I usually use. That took a long time. It was like sawing at the yarn. Now, I suppose if you wanted to, we could have not cut the gray and we could pretend that that was the bottom of the purse. The arrows look pretty much the same both directions, so that would have been a nice hack. Save me from weaving these little yarn in, but too late, I already cut it. Now this yarn changes color. Yep, I don't really like that. I'm going to pull that one out. I should have thought of that before. I said it out loud, but I hadn't actually thought of it. So let's just take it apart because it's not going to hide here. And of course, when I go through those fabric, it's not very easy to pull apart, which is good. That means my tail is not going to come apart accidentally. But today I want him out because the color needs to stay over here next to these other color. Red into red, but this whitey gray black stuff, it changes color too much for me. And I don't want that to really be showing. So hopefully, yeah, that'll be okay. I'm just going to go back to the light area. And you can make your purse with a different design, or you can repeat the arrows. My video here, even though we had a 2-hour live the first time, I'm not really hoping to be 2 hours again today because my kids won't last that long at the park. You know what I'm saying? Where was I? Here we go. That's much better. And the bottom ones have to be woven in as well. Plus, I'm just like standing at the desk here near this box and my feet get sore. But I am happy that we managed to get this project done together. And I'm happy that I had a couple people watching. Not millions, but that's okay. Maybe someday I will be super famous. For now, I can just be small famous. I don't know if it counts as famous at all. I can just be me. This one's been knotted, but we're still going to weave it in because it's just hanging out here. And I'm going to pull it through down there because I want it to really line up better. That'll be all right. I'll go in here a few times. Now, do you have a preference when you're joining motifs? Do you have a preference for how you join things? Because I have a few different things that I've done in the past. And today, I don't have a super big plan. There is, like, we could do single crochet if we didn't want to use our needle and thread. If we want it to be invisible, we would definitely need to use the needle. So that's our little tube. And if you do the repeat again, the stripes will continue and it will look whole. It won't look like jagged. And my colors don't make it show up too much, but they do contrast enough, so I'm sufficiently pleased. This is where my join is. You can tell, hopefully not too badly, but I'm going to keep it on the side. If I keep that right on the side, then whether you're looking at the front or the back of the little pouch, you won't really notice it. That's what I was thinking. And because my colors are variegated, I'm not going to get anything invisible. But I think, where'd my yarn go? Oh, it fell on the ground. Let me reach down here. You might see the top of my head. So here's my red one. I'm not going to use red because it's gray at the bottom. Where's my other one? Oh, it's still in the cupboard. I thought it fell on the floor. Here it is. So I think that I would just do, I'm not actually sure what it's called. It's a type of sewing. And, or we could do, I'm not sure what that one's called either. Let's do the one that doesn't involve yarn because I think it's fun. I think it's fun that you can just use your hook and you don't have to have any extra yarn and you can make the join. So what we're going to do, make sure it is lined up the way you want it. Start at whichever end you like. I'm going to start at the end that has the join. That way I make sure it's definitely on the wrong side. Because what if I had sort of, if I get things a little weird, I want to make sure this is for sure in the corner. And because we did this foundation row, it's a bit, you can see there's a lot of loops. And if you're new to crocheting, you're going to be like, what loop do I use? That's too many loops, right? So here's what I'm going to show you. This little stitch that's poking down, that's not the loop we're going to use. The loop on the side, we're not going to use. And if you look at the back, there's this little loop on the side as well. So that leaves this V at the top. That's the V that we're going to use. It looks almost like the top of our single crochet project because we did that chainless foundation or foundation single crochet, whatever you like to call it. And I am going to go under 2 loops. No, 1 loop. I forget what it's called. I see here this black one and this gray one. That's my corner. So for this one, I'm going to go in the gray, the loop that's inside the tube. The tube is so that the nice is on the outside. And I'm going to pick up in that V that's on the top, the loop that's closest to the inner. And then I'm going to go to the gray one and pick up a loop as well. So now these 2 loops, I'm going to slip stitch them essentially. But now the next one, I'm not using extra yarn. I'm going to pick up that inner loop of the gray one again and pull it through. Now you might need a smaller hook if your stitches are quite tight. It's hard to find. And because this is black yarn is so hard. But nobody's looking that close. You don't have to be perfect. It's okay. Just pick up something. It's all right. This definitely feels like 2 loops. I might have to get a smaller hook. It might be easier to see it too. That's a 4.5, that's a 4.5. 2.5, that's much too small. What's this one? 3.75, that'll be fine. Okay. So 3.75 instead of 4.5. We'll see if that helps. And I should move this chart out of the way so I can see on there if you guys can see. I'm trying to look. Yeah, what is this method called? It's because I don't know what it's called. I learned it when I was doing knitting tubes. I have like a circular knitting machine, and you make a tube and then you can do this join. And I forget what it's called, but I like it. And then I used it to join my seams. I have this that I was crocheting. It's like a sweater. This is what it'll look like. There was a row of white and I joined them here, and it's flat. The other side is also flat. So I like it for that, but it should be fine to make it on the bottom of a bag. That's what I was thinking. I like it because it doesn't use any extra yarn, and I have buckets and buckets of yarn, but for some reason I still hoard it and I don't want to waste it on sewing. So you pick up like one from the top, one from the bottom, and you slip stitch them through each other. So the next black loop is maybe this one. I don't really know for sure. He's hard to see because black is horrible. But we're going to just pull it through the loop. And then you pick up the next gray one and slip stitch them all the way across. One little black yarn, where are you? Because my colors are not going to be invisible together anyways, if I did a sew like with the needle and thread, you would see it. If I did a single crochet join, you would see it. So this one you can see it as well. But if your yarn is the same color, you can't tell. And if it's variegated like this, or 2 different colors, you get kind of this little braided kind of look, and it's kind of fun. So I think it's a little bit hard to go into each one. It's not necessarily the fastest join because you're just taking 1 loop, and sometimes 1 loop is harder to find than 2 loops, but it's kind of fun. When you get to the end, you will need a small piece of yarn to tie it off with, because there isn't anything loose that you can lock it with, if that makes sense. And it is hard to sometimes remember which loop you're grabbing. I know in the knitting machine groups that I'm in, sometimes people complain that they can't do this method because they can't keep a straight line. Now, we don't have very many options to pick from when we're just doing 2 at the bottom, but on a knitting tube, it's harder to find that straight line. But I don't know. That's what we're gonna do. I thought sitting might be easier because then my camera's not in the way, but then my arms have to be up very high. So I'm gonna try standing again. Yeah, that is easier for me. So I'm picking up the loop and pulling it through. Picking up 1 loop, pulling it through. And you just go all the way across, and it's like no needle, no sewing, no extra yarn except for to tie it off. And I like that. I like that about it. It might be called a mattress stitch. Does that sound about right? You knit? Hey, knitter. You knit? You tell me, what is this called? Because maybe you don't use it in a real knitting, only in machine knitting. It's a unique way to join. Does it stretch your finished project? Just curious. No, actually, it makes things a little bit less stretchy. That is also another complaint in the knitting machine group, because the knit fabric is so stretchy, and then you put this join on and it's a little less stretchy. I'll show you here. This is how much stretch I've got here, and it's basically, it's done. The bottom of our purse doesn't need to stretch, so that's also why it's fine for this. But the amount of stretch, well, I guess we don't have a whole lot of stretch in there anyways, but maybe this other project will. Well, this is how much the square would stretch. This is how much the join stretches. So it takes out some of the stretch. So definitely you do want to be aware of that when you're making projects because it'll affect your finished piece. For the bottom of a purse, we don't need extra stretch. It's pretty cool, hey? And I do have a blanket. I could show it to you if you like. It's in the other room. But like a knitting machine tube is quite stretchy. And then this takes out a little bit of the stretch. And when some people get very tight about it, and then their line isn't straight and it's not stretchy, so they really don't like it. But I think it's kind of fun, so I've been using it. My little sweater, I figured it might need a little extra stiffness because it is quite stretchy as it is. So I thought that the join would be fun to do. And I wasn't sure how much yarn I had, and I had a lot of squares to join. So that's why that colorful sweater I was just showing you, obviously work in progress, not done. Has no sleeves, has no collar, but it's like a vest, I guess, right now. And it is hard at the end. There's not as many loops to work with. Come on, you can do it. But nothing is going to fall through these holes. So you don't have to get all the loops. You just have to close it up, right? This teeny tiny loop, this live loop, there's nothing for him to tie off with. So this is the only tie. Then you have to get a tiny piece of thread. You really don't need much. Because all we're going to do, we're going to pull it through. So there's one. And you can't just tie a knot because your knot won't be big enough. So you do need to find another loop. You could pull it inside. I always just pull it inside afterwards. So you can see that this white one, how close are we? Can you see? Okay. So this is the live loop, the white, and then the gray below it is the one that it's going in. If you tied a knot just now, you would not be preventing it from going through the gray. So you just need to pick up one more loop. It could be the gray itself, but I usually just go under the gray so that there's two, and I just pull one, and then you literally tie it, make a knot. I usually do 2 or 3 or 10 if I feel crazy. No, I never do 10. That would be so bulky. And you can get your needle and thread and weave the tails in. You can also go in here and pop this out and pull it to the inside. That'll help. Right? Ta-da! So depending on what you're doing with your inside, if you're putting a fabric lining, then this doesn't matter. I'm not putting a fabric lining, but I also don't really need to have a proper end weaving in because it's probably not going to come apart. So I'm going to cheat and I'm going to go through the loops. Going through the loops is not the same as taking your needle and thread and actually going through the fibers of each stitch, but it does sort of tack it down, keeps it from looking flappy. That's all. And give it a little stretchy tug. That little flippy flap, he's probably better off cut, but I'm going to see if he'll go under one more time. So if I had a little pouch, you can't even tell, right? I'm not lining my pouch. That would be another tutorial altogether. And I don't have a zipper either because I don't have that kind of hardware on hand here. But I do want to make some handles, and possibly I'll make a little tab. So what I'm going to do for handles is technically Tunisian. Oh, I better make sure I have the right hook. This one I was using because it's smaller to get in those loops. Let me go back to my 4.5. technically, oh dear, I'm getting crazy now. I'm going to do technically a Tunisian handle. And what we do, I think it probably has other names. I'm going to start at this end, right here. This is my seam. So I'm going to do 2 stitches this direction and 2 this direction. And I'm going to go under both loops because we want the handle to be strong. And I'm going to bring up a loop as if we were going to single crochet. But I'm not. I'm not going to finish it. So I'm going to go into the next stitch. And this little tail, you can weave him in after. I just sort of loop him around because I don't want to bother with weaving. Now we have 3 loops. We're still not going to do our single crochet. This is the joining stitch, so I'm going to pull him close. And I'm going to just loop this tail around again because he gets in the way. Pull it up. And looping this little silly tail again, I'm going to go in and pull up another loop. And I didn't account for my joining before, so I'm just going to do one more because it doesn't look wide enough to me. So this little gap, hopefully it'll get pulled tight enough that you won't notice there's a gap there. This is technically Tunisian simple stitch. We've pulled up a whole bunch of loops, and now we take one. That gives us our end, the side. And now every other stitch in here, we're going to go through 2. Just yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over. This one kind of got wide, but I think it'll be okay. Pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is now attached. We are going to continue doing that for as long as we want the handle. In order to get the stitches again, this one would have been your first, but because I was using it as a knot, I'm ignoring it. So I'm going to pick up this one. It's like a post. Yarn over and pull up a loop. And Tunisian hooks are usually really long because you can make an entire graph gown, like a blanket. But we're just doing 5 or 6 stitches for a handle, which means we can use our regular hooks, even this kind that really has a short neck. And at the final stitch, this would be the post, but because it's the final stitch, we actually want to pick up 2 just to keep it really neat. And then pull up your stitch. Now the first time we go only into 1 loop, and then every other time we're going to go through 2. Yarn over and pull through 2. And you can do that over and over until you reach the end of your bag. So pulling it up, pulling it up, pulling it up, pulling it up, and then the end one, we want 2 loops on there, pulling it up. Yarn over, go through 1 loop, yarn over, go through 2, go through 2, go through 2, go through 2, go through 2. I like this because the way the fabric is quite stiff. It doesn't have the same stretch. It gets it to be, the back is obviously the wrong side and the front is just a little bit more detailed. You can do anything you want for your handle. It's just something I like to do. And sometimes, instead of doing the simple stitch, I don't know what it's called, but if you look here, there's 2 loops, the front loop and the back. We've been picking up this front one. You can go right through it to the back and yarn over that direction. And that's a different Tunisian stitch, but I'm not sure which one it is. I'm not sure what it's called. And it just creates a different design on the back of your fabric. And of course on the end stitch you have to go through 2. But the concept is still the same. You go through 1, then you go through 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So I'll do it again because the stitch is slightly different. It makes a different back. So instead of picking up the loop here, I'm just going right through it and picking it up at the back. You could, I actually have a interlocking crochet purse. It was one of my first designs, and I made a decorative strap, a decorative handle. Has a little design in it. And I have a draft on my computer to have another one because that one I never even updated. It's only interlocking. It doesn't have the Mosaic version. But we could make fancier handles if we wanted to continue with our Mosaic crochet. So you can see the back here. When I was doing simple stitch, it's very flat. Oh, maybe you can't see. It's very flat for the simple stitch. When I went through both kind of to the back, it makes the back a bit bumpier. That's about all the differences. When you get to the other side, make sure that you're joining in the place that you want to be joining. If you're very particular, I would count the stitches. And this is obviously not a long enough strap, but I'll just show you how I would do it. Is I would pick up all of the loops first. And then, before ending them, I'm just going to go in here. The first one, we're still only going through one. Then the next one, we're going through 2 loops on this side. By going under here, we're adding, we're going under that stitch plus 2 loops on this side. It helps that the colors are different actually. There are lots of ways to make handles. This is just an option. That's how I would join it. And now it's pretty nice join. The handle is obviously way too short and I didn't count, so I think it's not quite even, but I'll take it apart and do it better later. I just wanted to show you. Then you would just cut it off and make a knot the way you normally would. So that's how we make a little pouch. My family just got home from the library. And this live video is an hour and a half long, so I think it's long enough for me. If you have more questions and you want to send me an email or comment on Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube, there's like a community tab. I don't know if that works either. But yeah, that's our little pouch. Lily says, thanks. Great idea and very pretty way to complete a handle. Thanks so much with a smiley face. And Zara says, thank you, Ashley. So you guys are great. Thank you for watching. I probably earned like $2 in ad revenue. I don't know how that works, but whatevs. And I will get this written part on my blog, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. But it was nice to see you too, Joanne. If only your funny little, is that a wolf? He looks like a wolf from here, your little picture. So yeah, I don't think you even got to see my face. You can see my face if you want. Hi. Am I on TV? I can't see it on there. Anyways, that's it for me today. My family's home. I'm done crocheting this. Have fun. See you around. Thanks for watching. And I can't stop it without turning this off. Ooh, Nancy says, arrived late. Yeah, you'll have to rewatch it because I'm done. But you got the ending, so we're good. Bye, guys.